to Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. We're coming to you live recorded from the 2022 Annual Fall Conference over in beautiful Colorado. Beautiful sunny October day today. And it's a beautiful day for an awards program, which we just wrapped up. And part of that awards program is the annual QBS Awards that we share with NSPE. And this year was ours to bestow. And for state and local government sector of the awards program, it was awarded to Illinois Department of Transportation. And I am very pleased to be joined by the Secretary of IDOT, the Honorable Secretary Omer Osman. And also along with him is Lieutenant Colonel Jack Elston. And gotta put it in there.
Right.
And congratulations, number one, on the award. And also a little added bonus to be able to be given the award by the son of Jack Brooks.
Oh my goodness!
Who wrote QBS. Tell us a little bit about the process of getting the award, what it means to the state and to the department, and what it means for you.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having us here with you today.
It's a pleasure.
Listen, we are extremely grateful. Having an award like this at the national level means a lot to us, means a lot to the 5,000 employees that are part of the Illinois Department of Transportation, because we think it's a reaffirmation of what we do day in, day out. And for it to go at the national level, and for it to be presented by the son of Congressman Brooks it is an absolute pleasure for us. That surprised me, and I'm extremely proud that we have received this award. We could talk about how this came about. Obviously, IDOT has a long history of using QBS to accomplish our program, and Illinois is very, very proud to have almost 400 pre-qualified consultants in the state of Illinois. Each and every one of them do a terrific job, and we consider them our partners. We don't consider them on the private side. We consider them an extension of the state of Illinois, an extension of the department. So the way this came about, evidently behind our back, ACE Illinois and ISPE submitted us for this award, and all of a sudden we're getting a call, and they wanted to, dig a little bit deeper into it with the idea of having an actual interview with us. So it was my pleasure to sit down for an interview with the Lieutenant Colonel here, Jack Elston, and we went through it. It was almost an hour and a half long interview. Yeah. It wasn't a Mike Wallace style interview. It was a little bit easygoing, but and they were serious interviews.
Yeah.
They were actual seriously conducted interview, open, asking questions. What makes you unique? What makes you different than other states? How do you handle Brooks Law? What does this whole QBS quality-based selection means to you? So I'm going to ask Jack to add or maybe a little bit of color to how did that interview go. But I think that interview kind of cemented it, and they took a serious look at what I have said, what Jack have said, and maybe that's what brought it home. Jack.
No, I think the Secretary said it very well. At IDOT, we take great pride in our consultant selection process, the QBS process. And it was pretty neat to, get presented by the son of Jack Brooks. So that was pretty phenomenal. We have we're blessed, as the Secretary said, we have nearly 400 pre-qualified consultants, and we have a lot of great consultants that do great work for the department. And we couldn't deliver, our program without their support.
It's an interesting thing when you look at QBS from the federal level. Of course, you have that universal adoption when you're talking about federal money for, highway and road projects. But and among the states, it's good coverage, but not everyone, especially the local, does it. What does it mean? Why is it important to you from an administrative standpoint that QBS is used? Like, what would set Illinois kind of apart? If for example, if there's an administrator somewhere else in the country who's listening to this broadcast and kind of wants to, okay, yeah, QBS is good. Why should I actually adopt it and adhere to it? What's the big value proposition that you think is the winner?
I'm going to ask Jack to chime in, but there's a couple of points I'd like to make. The QBS process is neutral. It's not a low bid system. Within that neutrality, you bring value to what you do. That's the essence of Brooks Law.
Yeah.
If you do not adhere to Brooks Law and you start looking at it from a price value, from a low bid system value, you take in the essence of what engineers have subscribed to. When we all went to school, when we started looking at what we're trying to do for the communities we serve, that's part of our DNA, so to speak. Yeah. It's not the money. It's not the low-bid system. It's the neutrality of what we all are trying to accomplish. Yeah. So that's very, very important to us. But the other thing is what makes us unique is perhaps we are one or two states in the nation that utilize public members as part of our selection committee. And it does help us. It does serve us extremely well. Instead of Illinois, 13 million population, is extremely diverse.
Yes,
we've got all kind of urbanized area, mid-sized towns, rural area. But we want everybody to participate. And the four public members who actually are part of the 9 selection committee members, they bring that value to us. They bring a different perspective. Yeah. They keep us on our toe. They bring that neutrality, that fairness, and that transparency to the selection system. So that makes us unique too. Jack, I don't know if...
No, so I have the pleasure of serving on our selection committee. And, firms will often ask me, what do we have to do to get selected? And I said, the number one thing is to do good work. If you do good quality work, that's the recipe for getting selected again. Yeah. And that's what QBS allows them to do is, since it's not low bid, it gives them the ability to do and the incentive to do quality work. Yeah. And, we don't put a price on that. Obviously, we negotiate after the selection, but, that's not the, quality work is what we want.
Yeah. The most important thing is bringing it. You have a problem, you have a challenge, getting the most innovative solution.
Right.
And that's going to last the longest and have the most, return on scarce taxpayer dollars that are being invested, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar. And have to make sure every dollar stretches as much as it can. And you want the best people do that.
Exactly.
Now, Illinois, you guys are in no way slouching on amount of roadways. You're second in the number of highway miles and second in the number of bridges. And you guys passed 2019, the first highway bill at the state level in 29 years.
Right.
Now you have an influx of cash coming to you from the IIJA.
Right.
What does it mean to have all that federal money out there, and how are you kind of positioning Illinois to be a leader in getting some of that money to the state, especially if the White House really, they have an emphasis on in asserting equity,
right,
and to make sure that the money is spent in a way that it does. Also, it's focused on serving maybe underserved communities, right, or breaking historical barriers. How are you looking at applying that with the federal money?
That's a great question. I think there are multiple issues that you have raised here. First of all, for us in the state of Illinois, I have said it several times. The Rebuild Illinois program we had in 2019 actually put the department back into business.
Yeah.
Back in business. We
were cash strapped for a long time.
We were, and we know our needs. We know what we need to do. We know one of our priorities is to preserve and maintain the system as we have it today. We need to fix what we have, and we know RBI. Mm-hmm. Wasn't just for roadways and bridges. Majority of it is just for roadways and bridges, but it's multimodal. in a true sense of multimodal. Each and every mode of transportation get a piece of Rebuild Illinois, and I could comfortably say Rebuild Illinois was a true precursor for IIJA. IIJA complement and supplement what we already have done in 2019. So it was extremely grateful of obviously to this administration, extremely grateful to our federal partner of the formula funding that's coming our way and coming to the way of other state DOTs.
Yeah.
We are aggressively pursuing all the discretionary grant that are out there because we have a lot of our projects that are of such a size that Rebuild Illinois or IIJA formula fund cannot handle.
Yeah.
So we are we're trying to make sure that we're preserving our system and we are attacking it from multiple angles. And I think we are being very, very successful. But the area you brought in is the issue you brought in about equity and inclusion speaks to the human element of what we do. At the end of the day, the billions and billions of dollars we have is meaningless if you do not utilize transportation in a true sense in your policies, in your everyday thinking. If you don't utilize the wealth, the new wealth we have found to improve the society as a whole to the point where all boats are rising together, I think we're not doing our job. I think that's a direction of duty we're in. The department is truly, truly focused on equity and inclusion and truly focused on helping the state as a whole, regardless of where we are. And equity and inclusion, from my perspective, is not a minority issue. It's not an urbanized issue. It's a rural issue, too. So everybody should be benefiting.
Now, your background, you were also director of highways for the state of Illinois,
right,
before becoming secretary. You're fairly recently, in the position as secretary of transportation. My understanding is also you're first generation Sudanese.
Yes.
How's your background kind of helped influence how you kind of decide policy, or does it kind of factor in with how you approach the job?
It does in so many ways. I left Sudan for high school.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a small rural setting in northern Sudan, one of 11 kids. Not much of an infrastructure there. It's a third world country. And then even when I moved to an urbanized setting in the Sudan, it was the city, the capital is Khartoum, and it's about 6 million people, so to speak. Congested. It's still the infrastructure was and it's still in a bad shape. So for me to have the opportunity, that's the setting now where I grew up, for me to have the opportunity, first of all, to be well-educated in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, between LSU and Southern University, and for me to have, kind of the ability or the chance to start working for the Illinois Department of Transportation. This is back in '89 as a civil engineer trainee and seeing the multitude of what you could do as a civil engineer.
Yeah.
It's not just highways. We're talking about hydraulics. You're talking about geometrics. You're talking about surveying, the whole, implementing what you were taught in school in a real setting. That kind of shaped my thinking. I think rural a lot, but I know transit and multimodal, intermodal is the backbone of a large city like Chicago. We cannot, and we will not, in my view, get out, solve the congestion issue by building extra lanes all the time.
Yeah.
You have, each and every mode has to be helpful, including, pedestrian, including biking. Each and every mode is got to come together in a true multimodal sense is the way, I think.
It's pretty rare for us to, IDOT to have a secretary who's an engineer.
Yeah.
But it's even more rare to have someone who started out as a CET and all the way up the ranks. So, I mean, he's a great asset to the department, and, so he knows all the facets of it. And, he takes the staff. You can tell he really cares about, taking care of the staff and, getting the mission done, but also taking care of the people doing the mission.
And all, yeah,
Thank you, Jack.
And also having that spirit, the overall spirit of engineering. From talking to our member firm executives and rank and file, it's you get into the business because you want to actually improve something. You see something,
Right.
and you can figure out how can I make that better, right? And I think maybe a lot of people out there who aren't engaged in day-to-day policy or advocacy or working with the departments, they see the department. They
Right.
see this monolithic thing.
Right.
They lose sight that within that department are people who are focused on a single objective, right? To take what you got and to make it better.
Exactly.
How has that, as your background, in civil engineering, carry through?
I think part of it is, maybe at least from my perspective, the way I came to the department. I was a planner initially.
Yeah.
I was in the Bureau of Planning in the old system we had at the Illinois Department of Transportation, but that gave me a chance to communicate, to be out there in the community itself, to do a public hearing, to talk to mayors, to talk to, just the general public. And that gave me that sense of, you could be creative.
Yeah.
You could be the best engineer there is. You could have all the money you want, but what you bring into the table, if what you bring to the table is not truly serving the public that you are serving, actually, then you're not doing your job again. So that kind of approach is what I take. Is what you're doing have to have metrics. It's gonna make tangible improvement to the daily life of the people you serve.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Secretary, congratulations. Lieutenant Colonel, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
On a well-deserved award, and thank you so much for being
We appreciate
here.
it. If I may.
Yes, of course.
Listen, we have a terrific organization in ACEC, Illinois, and ISP, Illinois Society of Professional Engineers. I said it early, but, we have such a professional relationship that when we look at issues, regardless of what they are, we have the ability to talk in a frank way without it being personal, without having to, without having to watch what you say.
Yeah.
So we have established that relationship, and I think the leadership of ACEC Illinois has a lot to do with it. Specifically, the board and executive director, Kevin, and of course, Kim Robinson from ISBE. They do terrific jobs.
Yeah, with it, Kevin does a fantastic job. He's standing over there. He's great. He's wonderful to work with at National, and he is dedicated.
Yeah, he
is dedicated.
That he is, and he understands the governmental side of the issue. He came from the governmental side.
Exactly. So
that's extremely helpful to us.
Well, again, thank you for being with us. Thanks for being here in person to accept the award. Really do appreciate it. And congratulations again. Secretary Osman, enjoy the rest of the conference. And thank you for being part of the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And again, this has been Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. We'll see you next time.